Welcome back to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Murrell, proudly sponsored by Super Resin. This week's special guest is Peter Griffiths, a man whose story is one of pain, growth and redemption. Peter's journey hasn't been easy, but through it all, he's found purpose in content creation. Now a motivational figure with a powerful message of faith, resilience and transformation. This one is not to be missed. Thanks for listening and watching this episode.
We was drinking in the daytime in the park, seeing a couple of lads. I've ended up chinning one of them, but he's fell and hit his head on a gatepost. And I started to really hate the person that was looking back at me in the mirror, and I was just to the point and I was like, I want you f***ing dead. I am living proof that God can make a way out of no way.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad and the Ugly podcast with me, Tony Murrell, and this week's special guest is Peter G. Really looking forward to Peter sharing the good, the bad and the ugly. How are we, mate?
I'm good, mate, I'm good.
Thanks very much for coming down.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Listen, seeing you all over social media, find you very interesting, very open, very honest, real. And that's what stands out for me. You know, I just thought, wow, you can relate to so many things that you're putting the message out there about, and, you know, the adversities you've had in life. So I just thought to myself, this guy looks interesting, his videos, he's inspirational, he's motivational. And we just want to know how it all started. So listen, Peter, I want to get right into it. Where you're from, where you grew up, family life and school life was like.
So I'm from South Manchester, from a council estate called Wythenshawe. It used to be like one of the biggest, like, in Europe. It's like pretty known. Bit like, to say I was poor, like, I don't want to over exaggerate and go on like we was living on beans on toast through my childhood, because it wasn't that bad. It was just like your standard. I was the eldest of three. It was like mum and dad were together, like early, this is like up until like the end of primary school and things of that nature. And then it was all right. You know, I came up before social media, so I was like the type to go out and you meet your mates on the front and you have a kickabout and a little roll around and things like that. And
you go and knock for them and that.
Yeah, you have to go and find them. You can't pull up a phone and go and track them down or see where they are or look on the stories, and like nobody's business was out there for the world to see. So you had to go and investigate and go on little adventures and things like that. So I'm grateful for that. But like, yeah, so as I was going into high school, my mother got diagnosed with cancer. She had it in her tongue, and it like took its toll on the family. So they come up with like this one-off operation where they take a piece out of her forearm out of two places and they molded it to the back of her tongue. And anyway, she's ended up surviving, pulling through. But when she's pulled through, she had to like, she couldn't speak, because her tongue was stitched in half, so she had to like learn how to talk again and things like that. So it was like she was there but she wasn't there, and it took its toll on the family. And being a child, you don't understand like the strains of what you go through when you're a kid and why. It's only when you grow older as an adult and you actually look back and reflect and you mature enough not to play the blame game but to observe and go, that's why that played out like this.
How old was you then, Peter?
I was like 11.
And your brothers and sisters are obviously younger than
Yeah. So I'm the eldest of three, so my sister's a year younger and my brother's 5 years younger.
So for you as, kids, you're sort of understanding a little bit, but you're not your brothers and sisters are probably like thinking, what's going on? And, it's one of those where, as a family, it's tough. Your mum's trying to, learn to speak again, and what she's just been through, it's horrific. And, your dad and that, was there as well. And was it a tough time for you all, or,
Yeah, it put a strain on us all, because my little brother and sister wouldn't have understood it as much as I would. But even still, I was like, this was all new to me, because one minute everybody's there, everybody's healthy, everybody's happy, so to speak, and then next minute there's just been a big divide by nothing that can be controlled. Like, no one had any control over it. It was kind of sudden, and then before you know it, you're visiting your mum in a hospital bed, and it's like, it's just a total different dynamic. And when you look around at all your other friends, and all your other friends' mums are all healthy and happy and things like that, it affects you more. Do you know what I mean? You kind of take your parents' health for granted when you're a kid, but do you know when something like that will really just flip your whole world on its head? Do you know what I mean? And it did put a strain on us, definitely.
Yeah. Family life, before, your mum was diagnosed with cancer and stuff like that, was that just...
It was good. So my dad's like what you would call old fashioned. He's like, you call him a disciplinarian. So like, I'm all for, let's just call it for the benefit of the tape, disciplining your kids. Do you know what I mean? But there's got to be a level of
there's a limit.
Yeah, there's a line you can't cross, especially now that line's become like a fucking dual carriageway nowadays. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a line you can't cross when you're disciplining your kids. But then you have to like unpack it and be like, right, they can only grow to what they've been exposed to. So if they've been exposed to like a violent parent in themselves, they're obviously going to pass that down, because there is no no connection like online or anything like that to anything. They don't know any different. So I just inherited the lessons, the harsh lessons that my dad had learned through his. He had so his father died when he was very young. Must have been like 4 or 5. His dad died in an accident at work, and then the man who stepped into those shoes, those father shoes for him, was an abusive alcoholic. So if he's brought up by an abusive alcoholic, then you've got to understand that it's a roll-on like knock-on effect.
Like a domino effect.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
like a domino effect. So he grew up bitter. He grew up cold. He wasn't really. Yeah, he was very angry and frustrated and things like that. And he was one of them like, I suffered when I was a kid, so you shouldn't get it so easy type thing. Do you know what I mean? And like, for years I blamed him and held it against him and things of that nature. And my mum as well, because she weren't an angel. Like she came back like when she bounced back finally from this surgery and things like that. She wasn't interested in being. Her priorities were all messed up. She weren't interested in being at home and making up for lost time and things of that nature. She wanted to go out and live a life. She was still in her 20s, still young, still liked to drink, things of that nature. And then she ended up meeting somebody else, and it smashed the family in half. My dad just went even colder, and then I was like waking up at early hours in the morning to hearing him fucking when she's banging the door down trying to get him drunk in the middle of the night, and he's throwing fucking cutlery down the path at her and things that just stick in your memory like that. Do you know what I mean? Because like I was saying before, like you look at all your other friends, mums and dads, and you don't see that, and then you think that you're the only one because you're seeing domestic abuse and hearing the noises and the bangs and the screams and all that, and you think like this isn't normal. There's something in you that you know it's not normal.
Do you know what, P? What you've just said there, you don't think you're normal. And I remember being a kid myself. My mum loved the ale and that, and she didn't give a shit. And when you're a kid, you're thinking, fucking hell, why is our family not normal? Where you go to your other friends' houses and stuff, and you see them, and they're having tea at the table.
Oh yeah.
They're all watching the telly, or it's all normal.
Yeah.
Where you've got this madness going on, like you're saying, domestic violence and stuff like that. And you know, I was, you know, what's the name, exposed to that, and when you're a kid, to what we are now, where we're men, you haven't got this, you know, you're scared. I'm not afraid to admit, I was scared of my, you know, my mum's partner and stuff.
Yeah.
And when as I got older and stuff like that, I used to think, you know what, one day I'll fucking get my own back for, you know, what he put here for him and whatever. And then, unfortunately, you know, the less said about him, the better. But you know, it opens your eyes when you're a kid. You're exposed to it, and you think, is this normal? And your friends, you're going to school and all that, and you just think to yourself, why is my family not normal?
Yeah, definitely.
And you just think to yourself, did school pick up on any of this, or was it like, or?
Yeah, so when I was going to high school obviously would notice like the change in my behaviour and things like that, because so when my family broke, I followed my mum. Like I was a mummy's boy, do you know what I mean? Because my mum was always like, my dad was disciplining me, but my mum was always like, when he'd go out the room, like, don't listen to your dad, you know, like like undermining everything he was trying to teach me, you know what I mean? Or like the discipline he was trying to instill in me, she was undermining it all the time. Don't listen to me, you don't mean it. Or do you know, just always, you know what mums are like giving you fivers under the table, and you know all that sort of behaviour. So I've naturally gone with my mum, and then obviously there was a big gap missing. So I was used to having like a full family unit. As dysfunctional as it was still a male strong figure in the house, whether he's the ideal male role model or not, he was still there. So then I didn't have that level of validation, do you know what I mean? I didn't have anybody to look up to. So then I started going outside and looking and finding those role models and seeking validation outside. And you know yourself, growing up on the streets, early 2000s and things like that, who's out there? There's nobody doing anything decent. There's no one who's got your best interests at heart, and there's no decent male role models out there for us to look up to, and not only look up to like to take leaves out of their books and start to build like a fucking solid young man. Yeah. You're just being guided to learn how to knit cars and
do other bits and bobs.
Yeah, and stupid things and learning how to fight and things that are not going to serve you later on in life. But that's just because that's all they know too. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like, I wouldn't say like a product of my environment, but you could call it that. And then that obviously spilled out into my school. And then by this time I was in high school, but to their credit, they got me in a good high school. There's a good high school round the way. And because I was very like, I was good in school. I was like academically sound. So I wasn't behind at anything. I was just the class clown. And this is what I always stress so much. Like if you're if you've got a kid and it's coming home with reports and like you're getting calls from school saying they had a class clown, being a class clown is just, now I understand as a man, you're just seeking validation. That's all you're doing. You want everyone to affirm you. You want everyone to accept you because you're missing that acceptance at home. So if like, for anybody watching, if you've got a kid that keeps getting reported as the class clown, just check in on them a bit more, because they'll be acting up to an audience, and that audience that they're acting up to and showing off in front of is not going to have their best interests at heart. And that's basically what the fucking long road I went down in high school and that.
Exactly the same. I was exactly the same in school. You know, I liked English, I liked PE, you know, footy and stuff like that. And I was like the class clown, fucking about, messing about, making people laugh, you know, and like you're saying, at home, because it's not there, you know what I mean? You haven't got that role model. So when, you know, like yourself, lived on a council estate, best times in your life, if I want to be honest.
Yeah.
Some good people, some characters.
Yeah,
but listen, it's things that we've learned, the life skills that we've learned, where whether they were right at the time, they probably weren't.
Yeah.
And what happens is, like, as you get older and you start maturing, and listen, I've made many mistakes.
Yeah.
Many police been at the door, you know, took home, and you know, all this stuff, and no one's perfect. But I think growing up on a council estate, majority of people that you speak to, whatever they do in life now, whether they're a successful businessman, a CEO, or whatever they do, majority of people have come off council estates. They're no one's better than anyone. Do you know what I mean? You got two arms, you got two legs, and you got a hole in your ass. You know what I mean? But it's just, the thing is, when you come from a council estate, you see real people.
Yeah.
And whether you make them decisions and whether they're the right ones at the time, you know, only time will tell. And it's mad that you said that, you know, you're the class clown and stuff like that. And I was exactly the same. I think because you haven't got that sort of role model to say, look, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing that. Where the way that
it's accepted and it's egged on. Like, people cheer you on for acting
and that's why you're doing it. And where normally you'd go, you know, where you've got that sort of person to look up to and stuff, and they'll put you in line, but in the right way, where, like you said, sometimes physically, where, all right, if I was out of line, it didn't do me any harm. We're getting a smack or whatever. I know people probably disagree. It didn't do me no harm, but there's a line that you wouldn't cross, where I think, you know, a lot of people growing up where, you know, physically, you know, filled in or whatever, where I didn't have it to that degree. I got a good few cracks, like, but to this day, you know, it sort of made me to the person I am. I don't think, like you said, the dual carriageway where you can shout, tell your kid off or whatever, but now you can't even do that.
Even then, you've got to be careful. You can't raise your voice. You can't use swear words. You got to be, you know what I mean? You can't insult. There's loads of like boundaries now, and like safe zones and systems, and they want to jump into and meddle inside your family and be like, is this person hitting you? And you know, they love off it. They thrive off it. The whole system's like built on like thriving off it. It's crazy.
Instead of imagine it back in the day. Then, do you know what I mean?
Oh, back in the day, all the parents would have been locked up. Everyone would have been fucked if their kids came up in like the 90s, 80s, early 2000s, whatever. Before all this social media, all of our parents would have been in jail.
Exactly.
But also,
but obviously your mum and dad, was that starting to be it's a rocky road, was it? And
yeah, so it literally come to an end like when I was like 12, going into high school, like around 12, 13, they had no contact, and it just got nasty and
toxic.
And yeah, it just got very nasty, and like and rightly so. Like, I can see it from both sides, you know what I mean? And then, but obviously being the eldest of three, I was the one that copped for all the negativity, and like I got loads of backlash from my dad, and I got and then you've got both sides of families in your ear trying to play you off against either, do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it was shit really. And because we was moving around a lot, there was me, my mum, my brother and my sister, we were sleeping on like floors and that in like council houses so the council would provide like houses that were like ex-smackhead houses and things to, you know, just like a temporary accommodation, and we're literally like sleeping on a bedroom floor on floorboards on sleeping bags because we didn't have nothing, because my dad kept everything and was like, if you're leaving, you're not having fuck all, do you know, like that, like being a bit stubborn.
Yeah.
I think that's one quality that I can say that I get from my dad, is my stubborness, because when I get going, I'm a right stubborn cunt, do you know what I mean? But then I've got my mum's like loving nature and things, so I used to blame my parents for a lot of things now, but I think as you grow older, especially as a man, it's your job to unpack it and not only like look at their parents and, you know, see where it's coming from, and then understand the deep roots of the situation, and then make sure that you're gonna be the one to break the curse in your family. Do you know what I mean? I think that's our responsibility, especially now with all the resources we've got. If you're still blaming your parents now at like when you're in your 30s and that, then you're just you've adopted a victim's mentality, and I think that's the worst kind of mentality you can adopt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think sometimes you can sort of look at that road, and people can say, look, and listen, we've all had madness go on in our lives, and everyone's got a story, and it's not a sob story, it's real life, and it's just how you deal with it. And people can go, I remember when, then tough times for you and your brother and sister and your mum and all that. But like you say, you can get into that mentality where you can feel sorry for yourself, and you can't, because you just get left behind.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing and stuff like that. But when did it come to a head with your dad? When obviously your dad came head to head, didn't it?
Yeah. So when I was saying before that he kept all my mum's belongings. So then this is when it was like I was still speaking to them both. So me being a little
you were the middleman sort of thing.
I was fucking rummaging around in his room, and I found a ring of my mum's. So I've stole the ring from his house, gone to my mum's. I've gone to my mum, look what I got you, thinking I was doing a good thing. She's like, you shouldn't have took it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, right, right, all right, I'm sorry, but don't tell him. She's like, right. Only goes and fucking tells him, pulls up outside in the car. I've gone in the house. He knew straight away that I'd been obviously stealing out of his house, and I would never have walked through the front door, put it that way, if I'd have thought that he knew that I'd stole. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I was trying to do right by my mum, because she had fuck all, and I seen like this little fucking ring box, and I thought like it was a fake. She used to wear like signet rings and like nothing like expensive, just like certain stones and things that she likes. So I thought like me taking that is like a goodwill gesture, almost, you know what I mean? Like almost, just trying to give my mum something back from what's been taken from her, do you know what I mean? Because I was still only 13, didn't understand the whole dynamic of it all, do you know? Didn't understand the severity of the situation and how scarred my dad was from it. So I've fucking obviously I've stole from the house, walked into a fucking, to punches flying as soon as I got through the door, do you know what I mean? So he's chased me out, I've jumped over the fence, he's jumped over the fence after me, and he's ended up catching me and giving me a good hiding, he's giving me a good hiding, and then to the point of when I was I stopped speaking to him after that. I didn't speak to him for, I can't even remember how long. So it was up until like when I was 13 to when I didn't speak to him till I was at least 18, 19, didn't speak to him. But it was in that time, like if you could see a picture of me when I was 13 to when I was 18, like the difference you can see, like I just turned into someone completely different, and that was through like seeking validation and going out there.
What you'd been through as well, though, Peter, and I know we've just been saying about shouldn't talk about like, oh, you can't blame this, but listen, you're a kid, don't forget.
Yeah.
You're not who you are now.
Yeah.
And when you're that age, you don't know any different, you're still learning. You don't know what's right and wrong and stuff, but you sort of don't understand. Like,
you don't know about love and relationships and those things. You've not.
But you learn that as a family.
You've been exposed to it. You just look at it and you hear arguments with the door shut. You don't know the dynamics of what it takes.
Domestics going on and all that.
You don't know anything about none of that, because, like I was saying before, like I came up before the internet. It wasn't all on YouTube. You didn't get to see anything. There was no.
Where you can Google it.
When you can see it, like the closest thing I've seen to any sort of domestics was watching fucking EastEnders. Do you know what I mean? Like
Potties,
like the soaps, like that was it. Do you know, like I just thought that was on TV. I didn't know anything about it, and I certainly didn't know how to navigate through it as a young kid. Do you know what I mean? But then,
and who does as a kid? Let's be honest, because when any guests we've had on the podcast and who've been exposed to violence, in the home and stuff like that, domestic violence and stuff, there's not many guests we've had on who've said, "Oh, we're stood up to," because you're a kid. And it's not, you don't know, because you're scared. Because
petrified.
You're petrified. That's the word, petrified.
Petrified, mate.
And you don't know that, and it's only when you get older and you think, I wish I was, I was strong enough to look after me mum or do this and do that, and like you say, it was scary. But in that 5 years where you didn't speak to your dad, that must have been hard. Was you still living with your mum, or was you on the street? Or...
Yeah, so I was still living with my mum, and then it was I started drinking on the streets when I was like 13, 14, and when I was 15.
With all the lads and stuff.
Yeah, with all the lads, and we used to go around like finding other groups of lads to fight with and things like that. It was kind of like the thing, like Football Factory came out when I was in school, and everyone was mad for it, and was all used to meet up and like have little fights.
Go to different estates.
It weren't as severe as what you see in the film, but it was similar like that. Yeah, like different, because the estate that I come from is loads of little mini estates inside inside it, so it was just all little areas beefing over something. Like very rarely someone would get seriously hurt, but every now and again there'd be somewhere where someone would get stabbed or someone would get like blood drawn, but it's just punch ups all the time really. And then like it was just like a thing. It was like when you get drunk, you go out and you fight, and then we was just doing it. And then one day we was drinking in the daytime in the park, and then we was just like walking down the street, seeing a couple of lads. We ended up catching them up. I've ended up chinning one of them, but he's fell and hit his head on a gate post, and he had to have stitches and things like that. But at the time I just thought out of it. Went on a school football trip with me little posh school that I was still in, still hanging on there by a thread. And then I've came back to getting arrested, being arrested for fucking grievous bodily harm, and I was like, what? And then I've got a book because I didn't have my dad there to say it's gonna be all right, and I had my mum. And obviously women act more on their emotional side, so then like she lets her emotions dictate like how she navigates through a situation. So she just poured that on me. You're gonna get years in prison. You've broke someone's face. You've done this, like straight away. And me, if you saw me when I was a kid, I looked like the fucking Milky Bar kid. I was a little small fat kid with glasses, pretty poor, long hair. Like I was just like I was in no fit state to be going to juveniles anyway. So it was like all my fucking life, my world just come crashing down. I thought, wow, I'm actually gonna go. So anyway, the case went on for about a year. It was up until near my GCSEs. When I was 16 in year 11, I actually went. I got 4 months, but I only ended up doing like just over 2. But
Where'd you end up?
In Hindley.
In Hindley.
So I did my GCSEs in there. But if you would have saw me when I was a kid, like for these kids that are going to these jails now, like you can all act hard and you can all give it the big one, but when it's just you and it's in the middle of the night in the pissing down rain in January in the cold, and you're stepping off the sweatbox and you're looking at those big gates with the barbed wire and you're seeing the dogs and you can hear all the screaming and shouting, your ass falls out. I don't care who you are, when you go into those sort of scenarios and those sort of like venues, the size of the kids you see, like I've seen a 17-year-old kid, and he was like 6'5", 18 stone, was like hard as nails, like, and I was like, wow, I thought this is no place for me. But I learnt my lesson. So say, obviously I was glorifying it on the letters to my little friends and all that, and we was all having a buzz. It was like, yeah, because it was me and my friend who got locked up, so it was like the thing to do on my estate. Everyone on my estate, I think there's only like one person out of like the 20 lads or something I grew up with that's not been to prison. You know, and that's only by the grace of God, because he's done all sorts, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But like that's what it was. You get to a certain age, you learn how to fight, you learn how to nick cars, then you get nicked, then you go to jail, then you come out, then everyone gives you a little bit of respect, and then that was like basically like the roadmap laid out for you. And I was the last person that everyone expected to go, because of the education what I was in, and because of my brain, and because of the fact I look like a fucking Milky Bar kid. Do you know what I mean? And then when I was one of the first to go, everyone was like, fucking hell, no way. People couldn't believe it. Like older people was like, what are you doing in going to a place like that?
And was it scary when you landed?
Absolutely, proper. I went in the middle of the night, so because I've been in the court cells all day, so I got there about 8 p.m. at night, and like I was saying before, when you walk in onto the wing and everyone's shouting through the flaps, you can't see anything, and you're just walking with your stuff, you don't know where you're going. I got changed cells about 3 different times, with like was getting put in, and there was like guys that were they were only up to 18, but they would like, bearing in mind, I come from like a little good school in the area, and my own little mates, and everything was dead familiar. And the next minute I'm in there, and I'm like, there's people in there that had been in there there was people in there for killing people and all sorts. I'd never met anyone that would murdered anyone in my life, and they were just mad. And then obviously
scary place.
And yeah, like I had a bit of reputation. I came just after the riots in there, and it was just like you never see so many fights. It's like 5 times, 6 times a day. The bells just going constantly.
It's young lads as well, innit? You know what I mean? So you can see there's a lot of
tiniest little thing. You say the wrong thing. You look at someone.
Bad attitude, and just
punches are thrown straight away, or someone knows someone. It's just constant fist fights all day, or like with little weapons that they made or whatever. It was just non-stop. I didn't really get into much myself. I was very quiet, and I had to bite my lip a lot of times, you know what I mean, because for my own safety.
Yeah.
So I managed to get through it unscathed type things, you know what I mean. But it was scary.
But to anyone out there, you know, look, think about what you do before, you know, and stuff like that.
Something that literally, I say it all the time, like, because one of my friends was like, over the last few years, like a few of them have had like life sentences for acting out into like in the spirit of the moment, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I've got one of the worst tempers going. That's why I fucking put so much positivity out there now, is because I talk that much goodness and that much shit now. I can't be able to
go back to that.
Yeah, I can't go back to that, snapping at anyone that wants to test me patience and anybody that wants to try me. Like, you've got to get out of that mindset, because something that like takes you like 20 seconds will get you 20 years. Do you know what I mean?
It's just that split second. It's like anything. It's, you know, when people say, yeah, but you've got to be, you wasn't in that position, you don't understand. But that instant thing with that reaction where you could just crack someone.
You always have a choice. You always have a choice, no matter what.
And even though nowadays it's like, you know, you had that opportunity to walk away. I know, right, sometimes you go, yeah, I don't know, but then now, as you get a bit older, and you sort of think that 20-second is going to get you 20 years. You know, you've got a decision to make.
Walking away stings. It stings.
Of course it does,
It stings me sometimes. Like, I had road rage the other day with a guy, and he was fucking proper giving it me, pointing in my face and all that, and I was like, ugh. The old me, I would have flattened him, but then I was just like, it's been.
But what happens there?
But it's been eating me up all week, and I just thought I'd rather have the pain of regret of not doing anything about it than being sat and being useless in a fucking little 4x5 cell,
where you get banged up for like 20 odd hours a day or whatever it is.
Yeah, just so I can say I was the bigger man in that moment. Like, it doesn't, and just to protect my own little ego. Like, it don't make any sense.
It's good that you can flip it like that now, and it's like you say, it's so easy to get involved.
It's a constant battle though inside. It's not something that I just carry around like it's dead easy.
You're not an idiot, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
you're not a fucking soft lad, you know what I mean? But you know.
But I don't have to prove it to everybody.
Of course you don't.
I don't have to prove my capability to everybody that tries to test me, because all I'm doing is risking everything I've worked for, risking my freedom, risking my mum being separated from me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm risking more. I'd rather have my ego bruised than risk everything that I've worked hard for. Do you know what I mean? And a reputation that I pulled myself away from when I was younger. So,
well, we're going to get onto all that on the say. But you know, when you got out, you know, with all the lads and stuff, growing up with all the older lads and stuff, what was it like then on the estate, or when you got out of jail? What was it like from there?
So when it was just more of the same. The first couple of months was a bit surreal, because everyone was talking about it, and it was it was like a funny thing, like, no way, can't believe it, no. And then before you know it, we was just cracking straight on with the partying straight away. Like, I've always been a party animal since being young, like a proper like.
Haven't we all? We've all, you know, we learn the hard way, don't we? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think when within the first 2 weeks of me getting out was the first time I ever tried fucking ease. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I was on pills by the time before my fucking curfew was up. So I was like, I went down that road straight away. I was going out to town when I was 17, and it was just like basically from. Yeah, it did chill me out a little bit when I got out, but it wasn't long before I was back out. But because I was just getting, you got to think, yeah, between 16, like 18, 19, 20, like that's when you're growing in size, you're getting bigger, and then like you're not only, I wouldn't say you're getting better at being able to handle yourself, but you're getting stronger, and you know. You're starting to look more like a man, feel more like a man. You're getting into the gym too. You feel it, you know what I mean? And you want to start going out and you know, chasing birds and seeing who's, you know what I mean? And then that's when your ego starts being fucking...
The club scene and all that kicks in, and you sort of, you know, you're dabbling in ale and drugs and whatever. Like everybody has done when they were younger and stuff. But like you say, you know, you start becoming a young man. And then that ego and all that comes with it, doesn't it? You know, and it's like you say, it's that mentality as well. Your friends, you'd always back your mates up, and it's that thing where, as you get older and stuff like that, you realise, you think to yourself, what the fuck was I doing there?
Some of the people, like when in my earlier life, like some of the people that I've literally stuck my neck out for and ended up taking like serious beatings for and really going out on a limb and getting myself hurt for, mate, I don't even speak to them now. So like I was putting my neck on the line, putting my health on the line for people just because I'm that way inclined. Like if I'm with you, I'm with you. Like
I'm all in or nothing.
Yeah, I'm all in. Like if I care about you, I'll show it. I'll prove it if you're in danger. Do you know what I mean? And then it was like But then you've got to, as you grow older and mature, you've got to detach yourself from certain people who are always going out, getting into fights. Who
It's
are
up,
always,
they're at it all the time and that.
oh, they're always at it. You know exactly who it is if they ask you to come out for a drink and you think, no, because
This
I
is
know
going to
how
go
it,
Pete's
I
on
know
this.
how it's going to fucking end, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just, but you don't learn. You make loads of mistakes when you're a kid. Listen, I still make mistakes now, but
Yeah.
your mistakes either mold you or they bury you, you know what I mean? You've just got to think, you've got to learn from your mistakes.
Or they make you better than the person from the day before, because you make a mistake, it's how you deal with it, the next time.
100%.
Because you know, it's like anything, you can try something, or you can try and do something, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I had to get that in, but it's like you learn from like your mistakes, and you know, it's how you react and how you get back up from that, and stuff like that. But now then, everyone, sorry for interrupting this episode. Here's a message from our sponsor, Super Resin. They are specialists in resin driveways and flooring across North Wales and the North West. Whether it's a driveway, worktop or flooring, they've got you covered. For 10% off, use the code TGTBTU. Now let's get back to the episode. Was you in relationships and stuff like that?
Yeah, so when I was, I ended up, my first relationship, I was 18 and it lasted a few years. That was wild. It was like one of my mates. She was like one of the boys who you'd go around and have a smoke with, do you know what I mean? And then we just ended up getting together, and it was just like, mate, she was Andy. So it was like, fucking, I'm going out, disappearing all weekend, coming back, mate. And when I'm coming through the door to fucking fist flying, fucking all sorts, mate. I swear one time she threatened to throw a toaster in the bath when I was in it, mate. Proper lunatic. That fucking made me, that scared me off women for life. And then I came out of that situation. But by that time, when I was like around 21s and that, I was a wreck. I was bad on alcohol. I was just like
partying. You were
yeah. I was ended up in loads of debt. I couldn't hold a job down. I was fucked really, and I wasn't anybody. I was a down and out, and then that resulted in me like being stuck to her because she was keeping a roof over my head. And then in the end, I ended up having to walk away from that and getting into like I got into like homeless hostels and things like that. Yeah. So I started to getting like around 22, 23. Used to be like living in and out of hostels, out of B&Bs, like on people's couches and things like that.
What was that like? That was
in those homeless hostels, like it was just like juvies all over again. There was 11 guys under one roof on like a 3-floored house, and it was all different kids there was kids from Nottingham, there was kids from down south, there was fucking black, white, Asian, but there was like very cliquer. Like I had a neighbour next to me, like on my floor where we shared, and all the other lads used to lever him. So he's always sat there in cutting casts and things like that. And I ended up again being the hero, trying to stick up for him and getting into altercations in there myself. I ended up fucking. Yeah, I was in and out of there. Yeah, it was a mad place. Literally never sleeps. Awake 24 hours a day. That place. It does kids.
Comings and goings. Comings
and going, and you had to stay there for like 4 days a week. Otherwise, you'd lose your place in there. But then they're getting you up every day trying to make you paint for no wages. Like they want you to do loads of volunteer work, and then everyone in there's signing on. We were all signing on. You know what I mean? But then he was like kids who smoke, kids who don't smoke. It was just constant. It was just try and put 11 lads under one
environment.
Under one roof. Yeah, it was.
Madness. So from there, you know, out of the hostels, did you meet somebody else? Did you? Or?
Yeah. So I was meeting somebody while I was in a hostel. This is what I mean when people.
Did you tell her, or was
Nah, yeah, she used to come and pick me up from there. So when people always say, "Oh, there's about good women and things like that," like I've actually had like women come and pick me up from a homeless hostel when I've got fuck all.
And did you open up and tell?
Yeah, she knew straight away. She's picking me up, like, you know, she used to fucking drive me around, take me to McDonald's and all that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I always remember people who supported me through it. It was funnily enough, it was women who and like girls who was going around seeing and whatever, they was the ones who were supporting me through those hard times. It weren't like me boys, do you know what I mean? Because everyone was focusing on partying and that, and if you drop off around that time,
you lose your place in this.
Yeah, you lose your place in the team basically. If you hit rock bottom, no one wants to hang around with a loser for too long, do you know what I mean? And that's the point where I got my life too. I got myself to the point where I was an almost drunk who was sleeping around. I was dishonest, I didn't have no fucking dough. It was like no one should have wanted to hang around with me, because I was either gonna get you drunk, drag you down,
every day?
Get you into a fight. I went through a stage of drinking every day. Yeah, I've been through multiple stages of struggling with alcohol and drugs and that. So when I was younger, me, like I used to want to be, because I used to get like bullied and that when I was younger, and because I'd had a few cracks from my dad. It was like, so imagine Imagine you could get the biggest XL bully going, but if it's been beaten since a pup, it'll flinch as soon as you move quick. Do you know what I mean? When you can tell when someone's dog's had a beating because it's walking around with its tail between its legs, and that was the kind of mentality and the kind of like demeanor that I had about me because I've been through so much. I felt like I'd actually adopted this victim's mentality, and I wasn't really like I'd give a few cracks out and been in a few wars and that, but I wasn't the type to go around and start it. I would always
wasn't a bully.
I was just trying to defend myself and just trying to fit in. I was only really fighting to fit in because I never really felt like I was a part of anything due to coming from a broken home. So I was so I ended up getting to a point when I was like, I just want to be big. So I'm looking up to the people who are from my estate and who are the respected ones and why they're respected. And I'm thinking, right, they're big, they go to the gym, they're fighting, they're doing this and that. So then I started to look up to that. And then I got to a point of where like all I ever wanted when I was younger, especially like being homeless and things, I wanted to be big, strong, be able to handle myself and be able to have a nice motor and a nice bird. And I got all of those things. And then when I got them, I was like, there was nothing else there. There was no substance to it. It was shit. It was just like, to maintain it, I've got to keep partying. I've got to be getting it up to all sorts. And then I've got to keep feeding this ego. And it was just like, but on the flip side of it as well, I was carrying an alcohol problem with me all the way. And then it got to a point now where like, I've always struggled with my emotions, I've always like, I've never, even
You're an emotional person.
I'm an emotional person. Like, yeah, I am an emotional person, but when it comes to crying and comes to releasing, like, I didn't know how to. I used to flip out in rages and things like that.
That was your way
I was never good at crying. I was always like told not to cry when I was a kid, and you know, and like even when I went, like I'm one of them now. Like now, the wrong thing will set me off. I'll be in floods of tears. Do you know what I mean? Because I've opened up. Do you know,
Yeah.
I've opened those closed doors, and it's took years of graft, but like, when you've been through so much pain and you've seen so much trauma and you've seen like things that have happened when you growing up and that, and like it's just loads of little knock-on things that stick with you, whether it's like friends dying or whether you've been involved in like car accidents or whatever. Like I've been through quite a lot, plus to do with like the not having a father figure, my mum like nearly dying, and like, you know, just going through like neglect and homelessness and all that sort of stuff. It creates like an almost like a burden of pain, do you know what I mean? And you're carrying this burden around, and you just don't really feel like you've ever got validation for the heart that you've got. You don't really ever feel like you fit in, and it just creates like, so you're carrying around like this life, and it doesn't even feel like it's yours, and it's weird. It's like, so I was masking it with drink and drugs and shagging and fighting and all that sort of shit, and then when all that burnt out. And you had
nothing left.
I was nothing left. It was me. I was on the bones of my ass with an alcohol problem, drug problem, no fucking money, mate. And then I just was like, there's not really any point in me being here anymore. And then I started to like really have it in for myself. I was like, I should have been because by like the age of 25, 26, I should have been thinking in my head, I should have been happy by now. And I wasn't happy. I was miserable inside and out. And I was just like, then I started to really hate the person that was looking back at me in the mirror. And I was just to the point, and I was like, I started to think like, I want you fucking dead. That's what I used to look at myself and think, you've got no mates. Your birds don't fucking like you. You stinking of booze. You're in and out of fucking homeless hostels. Like, you're not, like, I just felt like what I was told when I was a kid, like from teachers, from whatever, saying you're never going to be nothing. You're always just going to be this. You're going to be that. Whatever. I felt like they were right. I felt like anyone who ever said anything bad about me, anyone who ever tried to kick me when I was down or betrayed me or whatever, they was right about me. And I thought, wow. And it was just like, I don't know what it was. One time I just ended up like losing my shit once, and I ended up cutting myself.
Self-harming.
Yeah. So I can't really remember the very first time I did it. I think it was on this arm, and I just ended up, because I was built up with so much pain and agony inside. So people get it twisted. I used to be the same. If I see somebody and they've got lacerations on their arms or burn marks or things like that, you think they're weak. You think the mind's gone. You think they're weak. But really, now I've been on the other side of it. You're fighting fire with fire, because you're inflicting physical pain on yourself to try and deter and distract from the internal pain that you're
releasing
feeling.
It or whatever it is.
Yeah, because if you're struggling with your emotions and you're feeling this block like what I was feeling, to not be able to cry, to not be able to release, to the point of where you have to actually break your own flesh with sharp objects to actually feel that sort of release. Like, that's what it was like. And then it become like a cycle. I'd have like a week or two where I wouldn't do it, and then I'd go on a mad like fucking 2-3 day bender with what little money I had, and then before I know it, it's just me sat in a room on my own with a kitchen knife again. I'm debating on fucking taking my own life, thinking of like, taking overdoses, and because a few people in my family have like So my auntie, she took an overdose, she killed herself, her daughter killed herself, my uncle's died off drugs, like a lot of it's a very, very like dysfunctional sort of family. There was nobody really, there is a couple of people in my family, like we're not really in contact. It's not one of those close like family units, but there is people that I can say, right, yeah, they're half normal, do you know what I mean? It's like, so I don't want to tar anybody with the same brush, but then I started to like see things and see patterns and think like that might be just the way that I'm going, but all sorts are going through my mind, and you got to think, yeah, I'm thinking about a young man who didn't really know how to be a man, who had no influence anywhere other than fucking go to prison, whatever. My best friend is like my brother, he got locked up, and that was like my right hand, he'd gone. Then I was just felt like I was just destined for a bad ending anyway. So I thought I might as well just cut to the chase and get it done. But then I was warring with myself all the time. I was thinking, nah, there was just something inside that kept keeping me alive. And then I've been in like mad car accidents when I was younger and walked out of them unscathed, and could never fathom like why like why I'm still here. And it was just something in me, and then I was always battling with myself when I was fighting these demons, and I'm thinking like, don't get me wrong, when people say fighting the demons, 90% of people are just paying the repercussions of their own actions, and that's basically all I was doing. I don't want to sit here now on this podcast and pour my heart out and say, oh, it was poor me and woe is me, because I did that, because when I was adopting, that was the mentality I was in when I was self-harming and when I was drinking myself numb. And then it got to the point where it was like a 14-month stint. I was covered in
Peter,
scars, mate.
What you said before about the mentality and stuff, don't forget, mate, you're a young lad from an early age who's gone through, domestic violence, domestic abuse. You've seen it carry on, drink, drugs, when you're saying, oh, it's dysfunctional. It's not, because the amount of people that we speak to or who come on the podcast and they've been through similar situations, and people can deal with it, and people put that mask on and they walk around with that mask on as if nothing's gone on. Where you got to a point where, you're drinking every day, it's because it's what you know. You're taking drugs, it's what you know. You haven't had that figure there to try and guide you and help you. And, I remember people saying to me, we thought you were going to go down that road, Tony, and, like drinking the pub or in the fucking, this, that and the other, and taking drugs. And because my family were exactly the same. My family were exactly the same, what you're saying. So it's not dysfunctional. It's just, like you said before, I'm not a product. I think we are.
It's just familiar.
It's familiar, and you're not the only one who it's happened to. And I think you're being a bit hard on yourself, because what you do now is totally different to the boy or the man that you're talking to me about. Because we're going to get onto it. It's about what you do now, but don't be too hard on yourself, because obviously self-harming was a release for you, but then there wasn't people there for you to go and speak to. And where nowadays you can go and speak to someone, and there's the internet, and there's all people to guide you and stuff. But I think, what you spoke about there, it takes a lot to open up and speak so openly and honestly to where you are at, because I think there's people out there who'll come across this and who'll go, fuck hell, that's me, that's me as a kid, me as a there's so many thousands or whatever people out there who've been through similar situations. So I grew up on a council estate, teachers telling them they're not going to do nothing well in life and knocking them down and stuff, and you just think to yourself, oh, now I'm a down and out of, but it's what you do with your life, and it's so hard where you think to yourself, drinking and taking drugs, at the time it's great. It's the following day or the following couple of days after it, when you've been on that bender and all that, and you're either in a hole or you're whatever it is you're in, and then the next thing you think you hate yourself and who you've upset and who you've let down and all that. And it takes a lot to be honest and open and stuff like that. But from there, Pete, there's a night I want to touch on, which I know it's going to be hard, but that night in 2017 when your friend, can you tell us a little bit about that? What happened?
Yeah, so that was a similar position that I was in 2015, because see me, I'm the type of person, you've got to learn your lessons over and over again. Like, I'm not one of them. Like now, I'm different now, do you know what I mean? But it's took me to get in my 30s to actually learn the lesson the fucking first time, whereas when I was in my 20s or like late teens, I just had to keep going through it, keep going
Learn
through
the
it.
hard way.
Just keep learning the hard way. So I was in a similar position. I was going out drinking all the time and things like that. I've ended up going out, a couple of us, a night out in Manchester, and for whatever reason, these doormen have let these lads in, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they're familiar faces. Don't really know them. Know them to see them, because it was like, we're like, there's mutuals who've got mutuals and things like that. Just growing up in Manchester's not a big place, you know what I mean? Everybody knows everybody, or knows someone who knows someone. So it was just like that. And when you're trying to like, and then it was a case of like, there was a little back and forth between me and a couple of them, and my friends obviously seen it, came over, made matters 10 times worse. The places kicked off. Everyone's throwing glasses. It's dark. You can't see anything. There's beer all over the floor, slipping all over. But then we didn't realise straight away that they had knives. But obviously we didn't. Not nothing like fucking. Nothing fucking spectacular. Just like little pocket knives or whatever they was. But it's still
a knife.
Still a knife at the end of the day. So. Then it wasn't until I'd got stabbed a couple of times myself, but like on the top of my hand when one of the blades hit me, and I thought, fucking hell, but I was steaming drunk. I'd been drinking all day from like 2 p.m. I was at a festival in Liverpool, and then I came back to Manchester in the evening by like 8, 9 o'clock, and then was getting smashed all night. And this is like, I'd done 12 hours of drinking by the time this come, and I drink like a fish. So I'm drunk, like making a proper sloppy account of myself, fighting, falling all over the place. Like it was just like a drunken brawl. I don't think they was. I think they was all right. That like they was like semi-level headed, considering. Do you know what I mean? And then so then we've came out of the back. So the bouncers have split it up. They've took one group out the front, and me and my mate have gone out the back fire door. We've ran up the stairs. He still wanted to have another go at him, so I'm getting up. But I didn't realise how many times I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed 3 times. But underneath my armpit on that side, it was an inch away from puncturing my lung, and I didn't realise. But
the adrenaline and all that.
Yeah, the adrenaline. But when it started wearing off, and I was just losing my breath. And I've always been relatively fit, and I've always been able, relatively been able to without trying to blow my own trumpet, have a go. Do you know what I mean? And I was fucking knackered, and I was thinking, wow, I couldn't even keep up running. And then the police have come. Tried to grab my friend, he's ran down an alleyway. I went to run, obviously realised I couldn't, so I've gone back this way. Ended up fucking, this is the kind of mentality I was in at the time, so I've gone back. I've had to cover myself up, wave a black cab down, jumped in a black cab, just got a taxi to my mates, because I wanted to watch the UFC. It was John Jones versus Cormier, and so I was that was my mission. I'm watching that fight no matter what. That was the mentality. I'd want to say I have something in my head. Do you know what I mean? I'd just been stabbed 3 times. Fucking
so lost to hospital.
Lost my friends, gone to someone else's house. I ended up fucking staying up on the game, drinking, watching the fight.
After being stabbed
with tea towels wrapped around my arms under my top, watching the thing. Yeah. Then I went back to my ex-girlfriend's at the time in the morning, and at about 9 a.m, and it wasn't until I was still trying to sleep with her when I've got fucking, she's like, you fucking not normal, you need to chill. Like, she's like, you don't sound right, your breathing sounds fucked. So then she's ended up ringing me an ambulance. I've gone to a local hospital, and then I was in the hospital all day. Next minute, all the police have rushed in the hospital, arrested me, and I was like, arrested me for violent disorder and a few other things. And then next minute I got a phone call saying a body's just been pulled out of the River Murrell. It's obviously my friend who was with me at the time. He also had like he got stabbed in the chest. I learned a bit later on, but he'd actually been chased by the police. Had fell into the River Murrell and drowned. So that's like the main river that runs through the back of Manchester. Do you know what I mean? So then I was like in the hospital, like on a mega, like it was.
Hearing that news, Peter, did that not, like, you just couldn't believe? I mean, I can't even imagine how I know you're probably still feeling It was just
like instantly, just like considering like I'd just been out. It went from having the best time, having a good day, going out with my friends and all that.
Bit of madness.
So yeah, like don't get me wrong. I've been in a million fights. Like it is what it is. Like you go out sometimes, you see groups of guys. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. It's nothing that gets carried on. But then it's not until something serious like this happens, it hits you like a ton of bricks. But then I obviously started to, because I went out of my way to leave Liverpool and come to Manchester to go out drinking, because me and him, we wasn't really like, we was on rocky terms because we'd had a bit of a fallout previously. So I was like, we'll go out and like we'll make a night of it, and we were having a top night, do you know what I mean? And then
this happened,
and then it ended bad. And then there was a part of me that was just, I was just like, if I never came back.
You blaming yourself, Peter?
I did for a while. I don't anymore, but I did it. But because of I think the state I was in, you're talking 8 years ago, I was heavily intoxicated all the time. I wasn't myself. I was weak. I was small. Even to like, I've always been into the gym and things like that. I was having a big break of it then. I wasn't, if you would have seen me, like, I was pale, I was small, I wasn't myself. The person I was in, I was very weak, and I think that's why I ended up in the situation I am, through my own weakness. You know what I mean? So I don't blame myself, but I take full accountability for my role in it. You know, and as much as we you know, we were together at the end of the day, really, it was just like I could have not been there. So then that was just playing on my mind for a bit. And then obviously on the estate where I come from, everybody's got their own views on it. Loads of people were supportive, but then you've got obviously certain people need somebody to blame. And then it was like, I was getting blamed by people who I actually had major love for. And I was like, they're saying nice things to my face.
But then behind your back.
Then behind my back, making like stirring it up. And I was like, nobody else, because how the fight started, he started first. He got hit first, and then I jumped in, knowing full well do you know what I mean? No, after I seen one of the knives, I jumped in, and like nobody does that. Nobody
knows the full story.
Nobody knows the full story,
yeah,
and then you had like a little clip here and there, or the
CCTV. Or
the CCTV that was playing it in slow motion, and until you're there in a moment, in something like that happens, it's all split second thinking. It's all adrenaline. You got to think like, I could have easily drunk a fucking bottle and half of brandy to myself that whole day, plus shots, plus fucking whatever fucking was going up my nose, and whatever I was eating. I was in a bad, I'd say a bad state, but I was flying at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was having the best time of my life. So for me to make any rational decisions in that moment, or anyone to expect me to make any rational decisions, is unfair. And like for me, because it wasn't until I sobered up, because even that there itself made me even worse. Like I was out drinking every day after that. I was like,
you fell back
straight away. I was at a fucking carnival 6 days later with my sling on. I took my arm out of a sling to go to a carnival, patched up, had patches all over me, and I was still drinking like Ray Nephews and that, like in the daytime at like a proper rough carnival in Manchester. And
so
I was
you were
like,
just back at it.
Just numbing it, just drinking, numbing it, waiting for then I was on trial as well for like, it went on for a while, and then they put it in the papers, pictures of me and shit, with my mum's address. Maybe she don't live there anymore, but they put my mum's address in, and I was thinking, well, it's nothing that serious, but if one of these kids actually wanted to go to my mum's, I was thinking I was getting stitched up. But the main thing is that like, I let myself get so run down and so weak to the point of where like,
did you fall into depression and stuff?
Yeah, I was fucking. It was like, to be honest, I was just a very, very weak version of myself, and I couldn't go fully under. And one of the things I actually did, so when I was friends with my mate, like before he passed, I've made him a promise that I was never going to self-harm again. Do you know what I mean? So even when those demons came knocking around that time, I'd made a promise to my friend who weren't here anymore, and it kind of gave me I kind of got strength, even though there was people saying things about me, and even though I was weak, so I was susceptible to a lot of abuse and stuff. But if I was strong, if I was the person I am now, I would have confronted these people with conversation and facts. Where I was just weak, I was just taking whatever was coming. I was going, and I was
that
drinking.
Must have been hard though for you, you know, when obviously you've just lost your friend and that, you just been back friends and stuff, and then when you've got people who you think are your friends, and you know, and that must have been so hard, you know, as a person to take that, and you've just lost your friend, you know, when you're hearing all this shit going, like, you know, people say, well, this, that, until you put yourself in that position, you know, people can portray and say things, and until you're in like a position, or you're in that type of environment.
So until you're put on a spot and your world's flipped upside down, how can anybody tell you how to navigate through a situation that they've not been through? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Adrenaline's pumping. It's your flight. It's fight or flight, or you freeze or whatever. It's like something gets put on your toes. One, you either react, or two, you can fucking piss your pants.
If you're under attack, you've got to defend yourself. Or if someone you love next to you is getting involved in an altercation, you're gonna
back them up, and you try and resolve the situation. Resolve the situation the best way you can. And if you're under it, you know, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, we say you try and walk away, But then in a situation when people pulling knives out,
You put in a room that's like not
and
much
you can't
big,
get away.
not much bigger than this. The doors upstairs are like, and you know you backed into a corner basically. What else are you gonna do? Like it wasn't like. It was just mad, but you know, all of these things, like, they just show you who your real friends are, you know what I mean? They show you who your real friends are, like, when you know the truth in your heart and you know that you tried your best to try and defend your friend, and then you came out and then you would have, you know, like, your intentions are pure, like you know what your heart looks like on the inside, you know what I mean? So like, now, like, obviously at the time, because it was like it wasn't until about a year after till I started actually pulling myself together and getting my shit together and getting back in the gym and sobering up a bit and like only going out once a month and staying away from people who would stab me in the back, and I got a job on a railway and like trying to pull myself together, you know. It wasn't until I started to do that I got the mental clarity and actually figured out this, not only like the severity of the situation and why people thought what they thought and how people like to play the blame game when people pass. Like, I understood it from their side. I always like to, before I start fighting people and getting in thinking, I always put myself in their shoes and I think, right, and then I understand, right, even though I might not fucking agree with you, if I can just fucking look over your side of the fence and be like, right, all right,
I'll hear your side of the story, but hear mine.
Yeah, I can, do you know what, to be honest, as long as I know, I got like dummy trying to clear my name when I was younger, because there's no fucking point. People are gonna think badly of you.
They've got something to think of you and whatever. That's you know what I mean?
It's easy for a lot of people in nowadays in the world that we live in. It's easier for people, to throw shade on someone else because they think it dictates from their piece of shit life. Do you know what I mean? Whereas really, like, tearing somebody else down doesn't fucking build you up in any way, but certain people would rather do that, would rather point the blame because it makes them feel good about themselves, you know what I mean? So I'm used to it by now, like I'm thick-skinned, you know what I mean?
It takes a lot to obviously to deal with it and stuff. So was that when the penny dropped, like, fucking, that was it?
You'd think so, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just loads of things that I've been through, like, I'm telling you now, like, I'd still been, don't get me wrong, I was in, so when I was on bail, so I got a lengthy bail and I was waiting to go to court. I was running trial, obviously, because they were trying to say it was like violent disorder because a girl who was with them got injured. Because everyone was throwing missiles. A girl got hit in the face and her jaw got broken or something with a bottle and all that, which is sad. She's a little pretty thing like that. And she got wiped. I seen it on the CCTV and she got wiped out and it was sad. Do you know what I mean? But then it's hard for me to feel anything for her at the time because my mate's just died. I'm full of stab wounds. Like
He's full of
yeah. So and I was getting hate from other people and shit like that. And then I was figuring out who my real mates are. Like, and I was fucking had to go and stay at my mum's on the couch because that was my bail address. Like, I was fucking. It was just a fucking.
It was a mad.
Yeah, it was just a mad time. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously every weekend was a memorial weekend, so all my mates would all get together and everyone was just getting drunk in his name. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was partying every weekend in his name. It was like the reason, like we even needed a reason to get fucking blackout drunk every week because we've been doing it since we were kids. So that just gave us an extra one to like, no, we've got to do it. It became a ritual then, and then so I was just back on that hook again. You know what I mean? Just drinking all the time. But then I started doing it longer than everybody else. Doing it a day before everybody else and things like that. I was just fucking just whatever little change I could scrounge together. I was just spending it on alcohol and just to numb my way through it. Just thinking, and then so I kind of started to, so I ended up getting a job on the railways and things like that, and that was good. But even though I had a job on the railways, I was still bad on the drink and that. Do you know what I mean? And you're not supposed to be taking drugs or that when you're on the railways and that. Yeah, because of the tests and that. But like,
get someone to probably piss in the bottle or something. Or
it was like you can buy these drinks from Dr. Herman's. You take them with a few capsules. You got them down like fucking 9 litres, and then you piss passes the test. But I never got tested while I was there. I never got tested, no, but like, to say, like, it was when I started to come out of, so this is what a lot of people don't know about me, so before I started doing what I'm doing now, I wanted to be an actor. I've always had
performing arts and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I've always had a passion for
performing
arts. Yeah. So I went to Manchester School of Acting, which is like where like some of the like popular soap stars have been. I did drama school. I've done like an in-house theatre performance at like, you know, and I loved it, done extras work and things like that. And I always thought in my mind, because I've always looked
to be an actor.
I like the way a lead role or an actor can make you feel just by
watching them.
Just by watching them, do you know what I mean? Which is similar basically what I'm doing now. I'm talking on camera and I'm making people feel a certain way. And then I got to a point now where I was like, you obviously have to assess your gifts in life, assess what you're good at, and think like, yeah, I'm good with this, and I'll run with this. Otherwise, you know, it's trial and error in it, life. So then I got to a point where I was projected to be like in a decent position. I thought if I keep cracking on with this acting, it's gonna pull off. Everyone was telling me, yeah, you're fucking good, and like the way you are, the way you carry yourself, like there's nobody like you on these sets. Like it's called your brand as a performer. Obviously, the way I look, I'd never be a male nurse. Do you know what I mean? But it'd be like the gritty dramas and the things like the top boys of this world and things like that that really excited me, and that they were the things that I was aspiring to be, and that's what it's still a love of mine now. Do you know what I mean? But then I got to a point where I was like, I felt myself slipping back into a depression and that, do you know what I mean? And I thought, but by this time,
what was dragging you back into depression? What was it?
Just lack of purpose, just lack of purpose, lack of good people in my life, fucking not being able to hold a relationship down, not settling, and just not really knowing what fucking being a man's all about, just being lost. I felt like I was in no man's land in my life, like nothing was making me happy. I was just like, and I just thought like, I just refused to go back to fucking drinking all the time and going out scrapping and partying and trying to and hanging around,
and
because
it's easy to
the
do,
people you have to hang around with to live that sort of life, they're not going to be there for you if when it all goes tits up. They won't offer you a place to stay if you lose anything. They won't come and visit you in the can if you fucking get sent down for whatever goes on. Do you know what I mean?
You don't even
like,
get a phone call
you don't
later in the week.
Yeah,
you know,
if you blitz all your wages.
When you're partying Friday to Sunday and whatever, and you're spending all the dough and all.
Oh, they love you then.
You're the fucking you're the king's fucking bollocks. You know
yeah,
and then when it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
your head's in the bin.
You don't want. There's no phone calls.
Oh,
you know,
mad.
it's crazy, and it's mad that you say that, because there's times when people who you think are your mates and everyone's partying, everyone's drinking, everyone's fucking doing what they're doing, but when it gets to that time where like, you know, you don't hear from people. You know, when people go missing, and then it's that time again, the following like on the Friday, and you're like,
you get a reputation for putting your hand in your pocket at the bar. It sticks with you. You can't.
I know a few people who are Pablo scared of the bar. They fucking they squeak when they walk. You know what I mean? But you know, it's one of those, like you've just said there. You know, it's who you hang around with, and you know that circle and stuff. And don't get me wrong, you have a lot of friends, but are they really your friends?
So I had a friend. So around the time when I was coming out on the railway and things like that, when I left the railway and wanted to do acting and went into education full time, I had a friend at the time. She was there when I was on my lowest and that. Do you know what I mean? And then I've ended up fucking obviously getting with her, you know, and fucking, oh mate, it was a shit show. But she was like the friend like me. Like she'd do anything for you.
Yeah.
If you want to go and party for 3 days, she'll do that. If you want to go for a walk, she'll go and do that. Like anything I wanted to do, she'll do it. And then I was actually starting to, you know, when you get to an age and you're like in your 30s and you're starting to thinking about like, got no kids, got no missus and that, and I'm thinking like, you're supposed to meet the one. And I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm thinking she's been in front of me all this time, been through thick and thin, supported me when like everyone turned their backs on me. She was fucking visiting me when I was fucking down. She was fucking putting, you know what I mean, like just to wash my clothes if I ever needed it. Fucking kind of person, like if my car broke down, I wouldn't be ringing the boys, I'd be ringing her. Like she'd come through. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, you know what, that's my fucking. She was a bit older than me and had her own kids, and had a bit of a mad life with abusive knobheads. Do you know what I mean? So then she'd never really been in a loving relationship. Do you know what I mean? And then it was just like we give it a go. And then the partying was just fucking ruining us because I was just being dishonest. I was still fucking chatting to other girls and I was lying about it and stuff because she was going out doing her thing, drinking all the time and that. It was just a toxic situation. We'd done too much outside of a relationship and seen each other's flaws to then actually bring it together and rein it in and be like, right, this is who I am. I'm going to work on this and this. Like we didn't want to do none of that. We was just still wanted our party life, but then we expected just whatever it was that we fucking, the seeds we planted to grow. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't work like that. And obviously now as I've grown older and matured a bit, like I understand like my flaws now. Do you know what I mean? And like, and I hold my hands up for the.
You own it. Yeah,
I own it. Last time I spoke to her, I said, look, I own it for like the shit cunt that I was at that time. Like I could have been better. The person I am now, like I could have been so much better. And then it got to the point of like where I was like my early 30s. I'd ended up fucking. I put the acting off. I'd ended up because I went on a bit of a binge after me like. Just before we split up, so I went on a bit of a binge, and then I thought, nah, because I've dropped out of the acting, and I thought, what am I gonna do? And then I ended up like she was still going out, and then I just started to distance myself from her. So then I've distanced myself from her, and then I actually just sat back and I was like, right, Rather than when you feel the pain of a breakup, rather than go and get fucking blackout drunk every week, rather than go and sleep around, I've tried all that. I've done that all my life,
work.
and all it ever does is land me in the shit. Whether it's from when I was fucking a kid going to jail, or whether I was going out on nights out, getting stabbed, losing my friends, being involved in bad car accidents, fucking falling out with people for no reason, just fucking spending all my dough, ending up depressed, self-harming, you name it. I'd been through the absolute wars through making the wrong decisions based on my level of intoxication, do you know what I mean? So I thought, let's just try and firm it and go sober, and let's just try and fucking start being positive. And then next minute I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna make an account. So I made an account on Instagram, which is the account I've got now.
Peter G knows, yeah.
Yeah, started doing fucking workout videos, but writing motivational stuff underneath.
But what was it that made you, like, was there someone that inspired you, or was it just, but did you come across something on YouTube?
So when I was self-harming in my mid-20s, it got to a point when I was laying in bed, and I was sick and tired of just going round on that same hamster wheel, sick and tired of getting drunk, smashing my mental health to the ground.
Like a production line, and you're back to...
and then it'd be like don't get me wrong, I've probably still got a good week in me now if I wanted to go on a bender, do you know what I mean? But like, for the sake of what I was doing, it was like I'd go 2 weeks and then I would crash so hard because I'd end up with no money. I'd have like no, and then when you're in that vulnerable state, when you are rough and that, you start to really deep your life. You think like, oh no,
what am I doing?
What am I doing? And you beat yourself up, like, as you know, like through speaking to me for a couple of hours, I beat myself up fucking anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'm hard on myself, and I think that's what we should be, our own strongest critic. But like, I was heading down that road again, and but then I ended up feeling depressed, and I was staying in more, and I'm a very outgoing person, me, I don't like to sit in, and I was staying in, and I was at an all-time low, and then I just made myself a promise. And obviously this was before my mate passed and stuff anyway, but like, I'd made him a promise at the time that I was going to stop self-harming, mate, do you know what I mean? Because it was only going to be like, I was covered in scars, and I just thought, I'm just going to end up fucking, and like, well, I think one of the last times I did it, I was drunk driving my car, and I was driving like about 120 mile an hour down the motorway, just like arguing to myself to turn the steering wheel. Like, that's how far I took it. I scratched all the side of my face with a pair of makeup scissors that I found in my ashtray, because I was just in absolute agony, mate. I was like, couldn't cry. I was screaming. Like, this is like 8 in the morning after driving home from someone's house, sweating. And I just went and went home, got in bed, and didn't move for days. I was in there for like 3-4 days, and then I don't know, I had my phone in bed with me, and I was just locked in bed, and I pulled my phone up, went on YouTube, and I was seeing a workout video, because I thought, I need to train. Started to think about like what I used to feel like, because I've always been in the gym. I've always loved a bit of the gym, do you know what I mean? So then I thought, I need to find some sort of fucking
routine,
some sort of energy, I need to kick up the arse, basically. So I went on it, and I went to go and fucking, and I swear, as soon as I pulled up YouTube, I've never searched anything like it in my life. There was a guy, and he looked like he was doing press ups, so I've just pressed on it. He just said, the title was "How Bad Do You Want It?" So I've pressed on it, and it came up, and it was a deep instrumental music in the background, and it was a speaker called Eric Thomas from America, and he's got a dead like convictional voice, do you know what I mean? And he's like saying like you know, how bad do you want it, basically. That's the fucking that was
giving you that
was the
motivation.
thesis. Yeah, and it gave me a kick up the arse, and I just sat up, and I was like, I've got to do it now. Today's got to be the day. So I got up, went to the gym, but I was covered in hoodies and that, because I was still scabby from myself.
Still scarred and that.
Yeah, I was still scarred and stuff like that, and my fucking scratches had only just worn off my face. You know what I mean? I wasn't in a good space. You know what I mean? But then I ended up driving to the gym, doing a little bit, and then I came back, and then I just got hooked on these motivational videos, and then I thought, why have I never, after all these years, found this? This could have saved me from fucking... No, don't get me wrong, it probably wouldn't, because I'm an hard-headed learner, do you know what I mean? I would have fucking kept getting into loads of shit still anyway, because, you know what I mean, you can show me a million ways out of trouble, it won't until I've actually gone through it myself. And
done it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, to go, oh, right, do you know what I mean? Like, and then I actually found out, like, there was a such thing as motivation, do you know, and like, I always say it all the time, you can only grow to what you're exposed to. So if I've not seen anything of this category at all, if I've not seen any sort of motivation, I've not seen anything inspirational, whether it's on a piece of content, or just looking outside and looking at someone and going, he's got his shit together. I'd never seen it. I didn't know what it was like. I'd never seen anybody dedicated to the gym. I'd never seen anybody fucking actually pulling away from the pack. I'd never seen anybody say, right, like, I've shown you that I can hurt people. Now I'm going to show you that I can't. I'd never seen that.
I can help people, and you know what I mean?
I'd never seen anyone do that. No one would do that. It'd just be encouraging, trying to give you things to make money and trying to point you in the right direction, or saying, well, you go and do this to this person, and I'll give you this amount. And, you know, there's all them sorts of opportunities, and like
all negative stuff.
Yeah,
that
all sort of negative things where I'm going to end up jeopardising not only my character but my freedom too. Do you know what I mean? And then when I'd actually found it, I didn't even realise the power of the internet at the time. I just thought I was onto something that no one was ever on. So I was like, I would have hacked them, me. I'm like, and then I just drilled, and I'm still like that now.
But you know what? This is the God's honest truth, Peter. I see your videos, right? Your reels and your clips and stuff, and they're powerful. They're genuinely, you know, when you're speaking into the thing, into the camera and stuff, and your quotes and stuff like that, and it's this again, lived life experiences, mate. You can't teach that.
It's because I'm talking to me. I'm
You
talking
know,
to
you're talking from the heart,
that person
and
that I was. I'm talking to him, that defeated man that never had anyone. So if I can speak to somebody who's in my shoes, do you know what I mean?
There's lads and there's girls out there who do exactly what you've been up to, fucking partying like there's no tomorrow, you know, in that fucking hole where you don't want to get out of bed. And when you've got, they just, like everyone does, they scroll through the phone and all that.
Yeah.
And then it's just that, like that. It could be a quote. It can just perk somebody up. You know, when you're speaking to the camera, and they come across it, because that's why I think so many people connect with you, because so like some people might not agree with what you say, but it's real. It's fucking real. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's your tone and
that I believe exactly what I'm saying. It's not like I'm reading from a script. You know that I've either lived it or I care about it. Do you know what I mean?
And that's why I think why people do relate to you so much, and they reach out. And I think social media, like we've said this before, social media is such a powerful tool. It really is, because obviously back in the younger days, we didn't have all social media. But also, it can be a fucking toxic and horrible place, mate. A toxic and horrible place where, you know, seeing someone do better, you know, and just, they're not hurting nobody, do you know what I mean? But then, because they're trying to do better in their lives, like you say, they pull themselves away from the pack, or they want to do better for themselves, or they want to keep the family. Because if they're going to carry on doing what they're doing, drinking, taking drugs, that's their way of dealing. No, listen, you've got to do this for you and your family, or you've got to do it for yourself. You know, be better than you was the day before.
Yeah.
That's in the past. Just look forward and crack on. And that's why I think so many people relate to you. And what's that feel like, you know, when you get like messages and stuff and people reaching out to you?
I get messages every single day. Like, I could pull my phone up now and there's just always people saying, do you know what? I just want you to know that fucking this video's like, I've had people say that I've saved their lives, and to me, I'm just speaking from the heart. Like,
what's that feel like when you hear that? Powerful.
I have had a guy saying like, his son, he's shown me his son. He said his son doesn't listen to him. His son's fucking bad, locking himself in his room, being self-harming and things like that. And he's gone in and asked his son to watch my videos. And I did one like, it's like a 3-minute long one, talking about like, if you want to give up in life, don't, because saying I've been there, do you know what I mean? I've been to the darkest depths with the fucking mental health and stuff, and there is a way out if you just fucking hang in there and actually start to treat yourself better. Mm-hmm. That's one of the main cause of my message is just treat yourself better. Do you know what I mean? I think it's so important. The relationship you have with yourself is the most valuable relationship you can have. So I just like when people resonate with that, and it sparks change, and they message me. It's all the time. I'm just like, wow.
This is what I'm about. This is why I do it.
I tell you the truth. The as good as that is, I've had people say like they've motivated me. I've motivated them to start fucking taking the daughter to piano lessons and all some craziness. The guy messaged me, you don't know what you've done. And I'm like looking at it, and he's like sending me videos of his daughter playing the piano. He's like, I never wanted to go out of the house, take her to piano lessons, and now I just feel like I've got to do it for her. And just mad messages you wouldn't even believe. Like, I'm just like, wow. But the thing that like gets me is when it's people that look like us, people that look like me, people that come from council estates and rough backgrounds, and people 10 years ago who I would have ended up getting into altercations with, who wouldn't have liked the little guy that I was, who was just always, you know what I mean, like the guy with a chip on his shoulder, or the guy wanting to fit in, who was showing off, or the clown, do you know what I mean? Like, I would have clashed with those people, but now these people are stopping me in the street and like saying, you know what, like,
Well,
man to man, like, you talk a lot of
turned your
sense.
life round.
You talk a lot of sense, not even to me, just like for what I've done, just for the impact that my messages have had on them. Like, I get stopped like all the time by people, and still now, because of my background, like it takes me back still when you're getting someone shouts yo, or fucking yeah, yo, is your name Peter? And I'm like, do you know what I mean? Straight away I think, what
no,
now?
what's happening
and
here?
Still, and I've not done anything to anyone for years, and I'm just trying a bit, and I forget how long I've been doing it and how far I've actually come with it, and like the amount of things that I've said and done, and like, you know, the goodness that I've actually put back into the world. I forget how much I've done, so I automatically think straight away, someone's calling me by name but looking at me with a straight face.
Is it negative? Is it?
I'm thinking, I've not done anything. What have I done here? Me straight away, I just think, well, I instantly go on the defence. You know what I mean? Whereas it's just something that's going to take time to get used to. But when it comes from people who have walked similar paths to me, that means the world to me, because I think, you know what? If I like with a person who was in, like, because to look at me at the times when I was going through a lot, like, to look at me, like, you could never tell. People always used to say, like, you just couldn't tell there was people who used to see me all the time. And I think that's one of my many gifts. I say it all the time.
You hid it well, you hid it.
I say it all the time. Me see men, we put on a brave face, like that's our mask that we put on for the world. But behind that mask is a little boy that was never allowed to cry, was never allowed to fucking fall apart and say, oh, I can't be arsed today, can't cope, I need help. Like, there was never, because there was nobody there to help us, do you know what I mean? So we had to just build up.
You had to become a man from an early age, basically.
And just fucking act like one, even though you didn't even understand what it was to fucking be one, do you know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people don't take into account, like the pressure it is on young men especially to try and be a man and be masculine and do all that stuff without the knowledge. How are you supposed to know? Like, you're
human.
You don't just fucking inherit it. You've got to go through the fucking school of life. Do you know what I mean?
And you learn it. You know, you've learned it like the hard way, because we say normal role models and stuff like that. So you've learned on the job, and listen, you're not doing too fucking bad, to be honest. Let's be honest.
Appreciate that. Thank
but
you.
You know, as well, with the lived life experiences, you know, schools, colleges, workplaces, is that something that you'd like to get into and go in and?
Yeah, so this is what I do want to do. I do actually want to go to like motivational speaking and do some sort of talks and stuff, and I really do think, because of
on
the way,
big platform,
and because of the way that I look and because of the way that I carry myself, I think that the younger generation and that will relate to me. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not going to turn up in a shirt and tie. I'm going to turn up fucking like this. Do you know what I mean? Fucking full of tattoos, shaved head, like just say it how it is, you know. And I think that's why a lot of people resonate with me too, is because of my deliverance, and because of what I look like, because there's nobody that looks like me or comes from...
You're not scripted. You are who you are.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And I think people like raw, honest, open. You know, like I say, it's not you're going in with a script or whatever. You're saying what it's, you know. And I think the youth for today, and you know, they're our future. And I think people like yourself, who've lived their life, and you know, it's certainly been very colourful and stuff, and you're not ashamed to admit that, and the rights and the wrongs and stuff, and I think it should be something that, you know, you could go down that path. And I think workplaces, because they've got kids at home, how do we, like you're saying, that fella there, his daughter, you know, or his son, but he was locking himself in his room, didn't want to come out of his room, self-harming, you know, and it's just that one thing. And
there's a lot of people there as well that, like, they won't know about, like, see my views on, like, being a class clown and what it actually means to be seeking validation. Like, somebody could watch this now and be like, fucking hell, that's my kid, that. Do you know what I mean? I need to put more of an effort in, do you know what I mean? And there'll be differences that I'm making that I won't even know, do you know what I mean? And
But that's why we wanted you to come on, because your story piece is like, people can see your reels and your clips, but they want to know the real Peter G, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they get the background, and then when people watch this and they go, oh no, that's my son or that's my daughter.
Yeah.
And we can go, wow, I can put my finger on it now, you know what I mean? And this is why we wanted you on, you know, and I think it'd be really good if, you know, if people reach out, colleges, schools, or, you know, even workplaces, for you to go in and speak to them and give that lived life experience, you know. So what's the feeling like helping others? What the genuine feeling?
That's the only thing that, you know, that's the only thing that's ever given me fulfillment. Even when I've been in like the lowest of the lows, when I've been like, when I've just been touching on the times when I was at the fucking, on the fucking balls of my ass, and I didn't have nothing to give. I always had a way of making other people feel okay. People used to come to me and ask me for advice when I was living in an homeless hostel, because they know they're just going to get the truth. Like like,
You don't sugarcoat nothing.
no, I don't sugarcoat nothing. And like, yeah, I might not look like I'm a living fucking walking example of my advice, and I'm probably still not today. I make fucking mistakes every single day, and I make some more tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just who I am. I'm not perfect, you know. I'm just fucking loud and imperfect, so like, you just take me as I am. But you know for a fact you're gonna get told the absolute truth, and I won't pull any punches, because I'm, like I was saying before, I'm talking to me. I needed that sort of tough love when I was younger, and I didn't get it.
Tough love, that's still tough advice, tough love, tough advice, innit? You know what I mean?
People need it, because that's the only thing what can really hit home. You know, everybody can be like, oh, don't worry about it and things like that. We'd be like, no, you should be fucking worrying about it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Like, you know, that sort of shit. Like, that's the sort of like raw messages that I like to push out. So I just think like, yeah. What was the question again?
Yeah, just helping others. You know, how does it make you? You know, it's
yeah. So when you're helping other people, it gives you a sense of fulfillment. And when you're a young man, that's all you're really chasing. You're chasing fulfillment, but you don't even like, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know anything about fulfillment. So then you're going out trying to like, it falls back into validation. You're going out trying to get it in women. You're trying to get it in drugs. You're trying to get it in alcohol. You're trying to get it with the boys, and you're trying to get it in all the wrong places, when really it just starts within. It starts with you.
yourself.
It starts with you not only looking after number one first, but then starting to help people see the light in them and start looking after them. Do you know what I mean? And that gives you fulfillment. Like, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're just fucking keeping it to yourself and you're not making anyone else's life better, you're living an empty existence. You know what I mean? And the days I don't feel like doing it now, I've built up so much fucking rapport now, and so many people are expecting my reels and things like that. Like, I can't fall off now, because I'm on my purpose now, and this path that I'm walking now is just going to give me all the fulfillment through helping other people, and it's just, I won't have it any other way.
But some days you obviously, you know, you might not be feeling 100%, but like you're saying there, I've got to do this. You know, I'm out there I'm helping people. You know,
I can't take my foot off the gas now, because there's times when, like, I feel like I'm already behind. I feel like there's people out there. I've had people message me from Australia. Like, there's people all over that want my messages. There's clients of mine, and they say they won't. Like, I had a client, yeah, and she had like a form of agoraphobia. My mum suffered from it, like in like recent years. Where, do you know what agoraphobia is? Where you can't go outside.
Scared to go outside.
Scared to go outside, yeah. But she put her headphones in, this woman, and she was listening to my reels. I said, she's like, I don't really like listening to music because I feel vulnerable when I'm out on the streets. I said, well, just put one of your earphones in and scroll to the bottom of my TikTok, and just go up TikTok and watch my videos, and see if you can do 10 videos in one direction, 10 in the other direction. And then I got a message back saying, oh, I've watched about 50 videos and I'm still walking. I can't believe it works. And
she's walking from Australia
and I'm
too,
just
yeah.
like, see me, I just don't understand. Like, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of power in what I'm doing, and there's a load of good in what I'm doing, but sometimes it still doesn't feel real. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm still behind all this mask that I put on, still behind the person that I am now. There was still that little boy. They've still got all that past. That past still comes with me. Do you know what I mean? As much as
still there, of course.
Yeah, much it's still on my heart. Do you know? As much as I've dissected it and owned it and took accountability for all my fuck ups and all my parts in it, because everything that I've told you today and everything that I've been through, like, I could have been better in all of those situations. Certain things, yeah, like there's like a fucking a turn of luck against me. Like, like it can't really be helped, but earlier on it could have been helped, because I could have been somewhere else. I could have been doing somewhere else. I could have been less of a drunk. I could have been more responsible when it comes to my choice in women, or choice in like what I was going to spend my money on. You know what I mean? I was just going with the flow when I should have been really fucking creating my own
learning
flow.
as well, though, innit?
Yeah.
You know, it's all a learning curve, you know. And just going back to that lady from Australia there, just think that lady wouldn't go out the house, and you've got her to fucking go out the house by your videos. That's to me, that's like you've changed that woman's life.
Surreal, innit?
It's madness. And now I understand, you know, why you do, you know, your videos. That's just helping that one person across the world. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you got to understand, yeah, like when I was saying about the depths that I went to when I needed the motivation to pull me out, I was contemplating ending my own life. I literally didn't want to be here anymore. I was arguing with myself every single day, like, debating whether fucking offing myself. Do you know what I mean? So then so the motivation and somebody else's voice and conviction pulled me out of that, because I didn't have it near me. Do you know what I mean? It took someone else to say it. It took me to hear it from someone else to go, wow, get a grip and get up and do, and do you know what I mean? And do what you know you're capable of doing. Stop being a down and out. Do you know what I mean? And then don't get me wrong, it weren't all uphill from there, but it had a major impact on me. And then I had this tool. Then, do you know what I mean? And if I can provide those tools for other people, then I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? If I can provide those tools for one person every single day, just off speaking, just off pulling my phone up. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not Spielberg on the camera, but I'm fucking, you know what I mean? I'm getting pretty good at it now, where I can just do them in like 30 seconds and that, do you know what I mean? And I've got, as long as I'm thinking and I'm speaking about something that's real to my heart, like, don't get me wrong, do
you have many outtakes?
Yeah. There's days when my mind's scrambled, mate, because either like something's gone on, like I can't, like, listen, life hits me too. Like, everybody sees.
You have day to day,
everybody sees positive messages and things like that.
But you have your ups and downs where you
don't see the fucking sleepless nights. You don't see where I can't put pen to paper because my head's fucked. They don't see the facts where someone close to me dies or whatever, because I don't share absolutely everything, because that's not what my platform's for. I'm there to help other people.
You're motivational, you're inspirational, and you've got to take that. You've got to fucking pat yourself on the back, if I'm going to be honest, because what we've spoke about, a lot of people wouldn't be sat here speaking about it, and because, like you've just said there, times you might have thought of taking your own life and, self-harming, and people just think enough's enough, even from an early age, but, you've got to pat yourself on the back, P, because, you're dealing with so much yourself, but then you're also helping so many other people and stuff. And, I want to speak about finding God, finding Jesus.
Yeah.
What was what's the score with that? Was, becoming a Christian and that?
So I've always been like skeptical about I've always wanted answers, you know what I mean? I've always thought there's got to be more than this, and I think that's what's kept me here. I think that's what's pulled me out of those car crashes. I think
I was about to say that.
I think that's what's got me from literally, mate, when I'm staring at a box of pills, thinking I'll just eat these now and it's over. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm driving, wanting to just stare off the motorway and just end the pain that I'm going through. Do you know what I mean? But I think that everything that I've been through, that was given to me as a gift, so now I can use that and channel it and fucking teach other people how to fucking navigate their way through it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not your perfect looking Christian, you know what I mean? You won't see me walking around giving Bibles out, but I am living proof that God can make a way out of no way. Do you know what I mean? I'm living proof. Like, I would rather be proof and be so imperfect, you know what I mean? And just be like, look, this is what it looks like. This is the good, the bad, the ugly, you know what I mean? This is what I am, this is what I represent, you know what I mean? And for kids who are growing up who ain't got no one to look up to, or, do you know, and I'm not even trying to say I'm trying to be a role model for the younger kids. I'm just trying to see whatever age you're at, whatever stage of your life at, no matter how bad it gets, you can turn it around with like positive daily actions, and they're just creating a better relationship with that person in the mirror, do you know what I mean? And just do things that actually feed your soul and serve you, do you know, instead of fucking doing things that are always going to be your detriment, like the drinking and all that stuff, do you know what I mean? Because it's all right, it is fun, do you know what I mean? But you've got to do the inner work on yourself, like I have, and I just want to fucking show everybody that, like,
you're living proof, aren't you?
Yeah, I just want to be living proof. And then tying back to the God thing, like, when you start to uncover your purpose, like, your purpose can only be given to you from above, I believe. So then I'm looking around thinking for the answers, and I'm thinking, like, there's got to be, like, so I started to look into like theologies, where you're looking at other religions and you weigh them up and you see what's what. And at the time I was doing that, I was looking into like Islam, I was looking at the Buddhist monks, and I was looking at fucking Hindus and then looking at Catholics. I'd never even really thought about Christianity. It was because my friend's dad used to take us to mass when we were kids, so I've always like, and there's churches on every corner of the street where I was from. There's like 3 churches in like a triangle, so I was always seeing churches. We used to climb on the roof and just vandalise the place, you know what I mean? Just proper,
rob the lead.
Rob the lead, just proper little shits, you know, just disrespecting the place. And then on a night out, I bumped into just a guy randomly, like, it turns out he was a mutual friend anyway, and yeah, we just got connected. Felt like a mad thing when I met him. Like, we were both bumped into each other, but we was just like ended up hugging and laughing because we were a bit drunk and that. I was laughing and we just held on a bit too long and hugging that, and it was like, because it was getting a bit gay, so it was like, right, see you later. And then we ended up connecting on Instagram, And then one day he's put a video up and it's like 12:30 on a Sunday and he looks like he's at a fucking concert. So I messaged him, I said, have a day off you, mate, it's Sunday. Because I was sober, I was thinking like, what? I thought he was partying, and he's going, what? Do you not know where this is? This is church. This, it's on Trinity Way. Fucking blah blah blah. You should get yourself down. And then I was thought, it's not me that. Well, that's not me at all. Gone there anyway, ended up fuck, I don't know what, so something just called me to go, so I went, ended up going there, meeting him there, felt like a fish out of water, nervous, heart racing in there, felt like I was going to burst into flames when I walked into the main room. I thought, they don't know who's just walked in the building here, mate, what riff-raffs in here now. So I'm sat there and I was just like, yeah, just taking it all in, and then they started to preach and speak on stage, the speakers, and obviously I fall in love with any sort of performances, you know, like I was saying earlier, anyone that's strong enough to get on camera, get on a mic and stuff like that, take me out to you, because it
takes a lot.
It's testing, it gives you a fucking dry mouth. I've never done a litre of water and just sat here talking, you know what I mean, like it happens. So like nerves and that, and sometimes like you were saying before, you could be having a shitty day, but then you still putting yourself out there to like try and help other people, and that's what the pastors in the church were doing. And I just really thought, you know what, that was great. That, and I thought, I'll come back and see. And he was just like, trust me, man, come back. He was like, trust me, man, come back. It's beneficial. So I've gone, right. Ended up going back, and then they said, but in the meantime, I'm listening to pastors and preachers on my phone, and funnily enough, that guy's voice that I heard when I was younger, he's a Christian. You know, on the motivational clip, Eric Thomas, he's a firm believer in God. So I started listening to what they were talking about Jesus and the life of Jesus and stuff, and I thought, wow, that's a proper like perfect example of like helping people when you're gonna get nothing in return type thing. So I was like, I started to really like it. So then I've gone anyway on the church, and then we stood there near the end of the service, and they said, right, we just want to pray to a certain group of people in here today that don't really know about Jesus Christ, and they don't really know about Christianity, and they're here, they're trying to be present in the presence of the Lord, and they want to open up the heart. So they're saying, if that's you, they're saying every head bowed, they say every head bowed, don't they, every eye closed. So you're just like that with your head down. They said, if that's you, raise your hand. So we're all raising that, like, so loads of people raising around, and I was stood with a load of lads who kind of like looking like me, do you know what I mean? A few kids like, they looked like they was from rough beginnings like me, do you know what I mean? Like, to judge a book by its cover, but and they've gone, we just want to invite you up to the front, like not purposely to us because it's about 800 people in a room. We want to invite you, if this is you, if this message is touching you, we want to invite you to the front, and we're going to do a collective prayer. So then this kid just looked at me and he was like, do you want to come up with me? And I just went, yeah, come on then. So I've walked up, got to the front, but my mate and his missus and that was behind me. They've seen me, they followed me up. I didn't even know they were all behind me. So I've got like an entourage. I've gone to the front and I'm stood there, and then like we were just all praying, and then we was just more like a huddle, and then it was just like, mate, I felt this feeling come over me. It was like, I can't explain it. It was like a rush of emotions, mate. I was crying my eyes out, and
obviously you don't ever.
I never ever cry, and I had loads of stuff going on, and I was like I was saying, I think my gift is to be able to help other people through their shit. Like, when you absorb in other people's energy, their negative energy and things like that, and just from a place of love, and you've got to dissect their problems every day, then it takes its toll on your spirit, you know what I mean? Especially when you don't have a day off like me, you don't have a break, and you constantly fucking pedal to the metal all the time, trying to solve everyone's problems, put fires out here, there and everywhere. It takes its toll on you, do you know what I mean? It burns your head out, because you don't have any time for you, and you're constantly stretching yourself. And don't get me wrong, it's my calling, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm not complaining about it in the slightest, but it's sometimes you need like an emotional detox, you know what I mean? Everyone talks about detox, but you need to detox emotionally and release some of that energy, you know. And I was just like, anyway, I was at the front, and then I was ended up crying, and then one of the pastors got off the stage at the end, and he just said, and obviously everyone was like leaving the room and stuff, and he's clocked me, and he's chatting, he's gone, excuse me, and I was thinking, he's gone, I've seen you come here last week, and I wanted to speak to you, and I was like, have you got a minute? So I was like, yeah, I've got a minute. So I just like walked away from everyone. He's like pulled me to the side, and he's like, you knew it. I said, I seen you last week. I only recognise you for your tattoos, funnily enough. So I was like, yes, sound. And he said, do you mind if I say a prayer for you? I said, it's just on my heart. God wants me to pray for you. So I was like, so I'm here thinking, still brand new to this whole concept, thinking. And obviously, when I was younger, anybody that ever spoke about God, which was, they were only Jehovah's Witnesses and people like that. So we automatically were conflicted and constricted as soon as we heard somebody even preaching the word of God. We were like, fuck off. Do you know what I mean? Like, you think, you thought it made them soft. Do you know what I mean? Because we grew up on the streets thinking like that's the way to go. There was nobody there preaching God. It was always like fucking
We know how to do it and all that.
yeah. It was like we know everything. Do you know what I mean? Like we couldn't be told. You know, like we were our own worst enemies. You know, and we weren't open our hearts. We'd open our hearts to like, you know, we'd quicker jump in a stolen car than we will go to church. You know what I mean? Like that's like the type of mentality. You know what I mean? It's like fucking crabs in a bucket type thing. So anyway, he's like, he's put his hand on me like that, and I'm like, I don't get me wrong, like I'll shake a hand and all that, mate, but there's random people coming over and just like holding me and stuff. So he's put one hand on me, and then he's put another hand on me, and I'm just like stood face to face with this little guy, like, and I'm thinking like, what's he, and then he just was like, by your head, and he's like, close your eyes, and then he was just basically going like, I can't remember word for word what he said, but he was just like, to basically he was just basically encouraging me and asking God to get behind me and help me change so many lives with what I'm doing. It was like he knew what I was doing, and it freaked me out proper. He was like, may his reach go far and wide, Lord, and may him do it in your name, and give him the energy when his enemies come against him, and this and that, and like his heart's pure. He's here today for a reason, and like let him spread that love and spread the word, and like, you know, just basically. And I was thinking, what the fuck has he been spying on me? Has he been fucking spying on me, mate? I was like, but this time I'd only just got out of a flood of tears. I was sweating. I had this emotional feeling inside. I didn't know what it was, and then I was like. And he was like, right, and then he was like, amen, or whatever, and then we shook hands, and I was like, wow, and I went outside, I was ripping in sweat, I went out to my mate, I said, do you understand what he was just saying to me in there? Then I was like, he was just talking about like motivating others and encouraging others, and
how the fucking hell do you know that?
Like, how do you know that? And then my mate's just like, proper lad of deliverance and that. He's like, it's the Lord. Like it's just casual, like it's the Lord. And I'm like, it's the Lord. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm here for my second time. I'm just been crying, sweating. Someone's just basically told me what my future's going to be like and prayed for me. I was like, it's a lot. It was a lot to take on.
Taking it all at once.
It was a lot to take on. So then I didn't go back for like the next week. Probably because of like, without other things on. So I weren't really consistent, but then I did start to go every other week. And then more and more messages were making sense, and
everything was falling into place for you.
Yeah. And then and it was not only that, it took a lot. I'm my own worst enemy and my own biggest critic, so it took a lot of pressure off me, and I couldn't understand. Like the more I was believing and praying and starting to explore it, I was like, wow, I felt lighter, and there's no other way to it. I always feel like I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. But then I was just thinking, you know what, if it is actually written for me, which I fully believe that it is, then there's no need for me to be so hard on myself. I've just got to try and put my best foot forward every day, help as many people as I can, get me prayer life on point, read the scriptures, and get myself a bit familiarising with what I'm actually doing. And then the time will come, and then I got it came about, like the baptism came about like about 6 months later, and I turned it down because I didn't feel ready. I felt like I was an imposter. I felt like I can't live 30 plus years of violence, of drugs, of fucking meaningless sex, of fucking pure carry on, and just being an absolute fucking write-off, to then all of a sudden I'm getting baptised straight away. I thought, nah, I felt like I didn't even deserve to sit in the water. I thought like, nah, I've got to earn my stripes. And not only that, before I actually, because that was a commitment for me, so before I actually do get baptised, I want to actually learn what I'm giving myself to. I don't want to just jump the gun. Like people just go like that and think you're baptized, and then they rush it, or they'll go and take the Shahada and just convert to Islam before even reading the book. Or do you know, there's people who just rush into something expecting it to fix them, when it's no, you got to fix yourself first, and actually familiarize yourself with something, because it's a big commitment and it's a serious commitment that you're making. Do you know what I mean? So when I've ended up, and it was around the time, it was like I was walking around with this emotional feeling constantly. My prayers was just mad. I was praying before everything. I was doing like 3 times a day. I was just really, really like, felt like I was just walking with God and everyone. And then like the messages were just coming through all the time. And then I was just like, then I went to, they do a course at my church where you go and like learn about it, because I wanted to do Bible studies, but it weren't like that. It was like a group discussion. Like they ask you a few questions, and then you talk in the group. So then I've like gone there thinking it's going to be me learning, And mate, I'm just doing the exact same thing. What I do everywhere I go, I end up sat in a room full of people, me doing the talking, and I'm like, I come here to learn, I didn't come here to motivate everybody in this room. Like, I can't get away from it. I thought I was going to be like, this was going to be my thing. Like, I was going to go and learn about Jesus and become a Christian, like through gaining knowledge and understanding of like the history of it all and stuff. Because I had a lot of questions and a lot of what ifs. Do you know what I mean? Like, and a lot of resistance that have built up through my own experience, through all the like the pain and hardships and the naughtiness that I've seen, and it didn't make sense for it to be this fucking external being and this
being accepted
and this power that can actually fucking to shape us and look after us, and then like everything happening for a reason, and then actually as all actually having a good path written out for us and stuff. And I just thought I was still familiarising myself with it, and then for the fact to go to this group and I was just like, I'm doing it again. Everyone's like watching me. There's people who are all like recovering alkies and stuff like that, and they're all listening to me talking. And I walked out of there after like 4 weeks, and I thought. And I think my mum asked me like, how's it going? My mum's like doesn't believe. So I get a lot of restriction. Like, well, I did it at first, but now she's kind of like, she just asks questions like, how's God? Like when I've been walking like from church or whatever, and I just go, good as always. And that's that. So like that's it. That's all we talk about. At first it was like, do you know what I mean? Like very, 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 very conflicted when it comes to the idea of it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what they say when you actually start to become a Christian, you get met with so much resistance, and it always comes from the people close to you. Like, it used to break my heart that my mum wasn't supportive. Do you know what I mean? Because I've always been supportive of her, even when she was a fucking, even when we were sleeping on floorboards. Do you know what I mean? And I think I've done that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm one of them. Like, if I'm your friend or I love you, like, I'll do absolutely anything for you. I'll sleep on floorboards for you, and any of my close friends can vouch for that. Even people that will be looking at me now and hating on me or whatever for what I'm doing, and remember the old me and things of that nature, they can't say that their life's not better when I'm in it. Do you know what I mean? They might say, oh, he's a prick, he thinks he's better, or whatever the little haters are going to say, but they know and I know that, like, if I'm in your life, it's better. I'm not saying you turn into a unicorn, but you know what I mean?
I get it. No, I totally get it.
You know, I'm one of those friends you can call on and rely on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're there. You know,
and that's one thing you can't take away from me. Anything else,
you're loyal.
You're
loyal.
What I mean?
No, that's a good what's the name to have. You know, and your friends and that, you know, should count themselves lucky that they can call you up or you're there. Do you know what I mean? Because I think loyalty is probably one of the best what's the name to have in life. You know, and stuff like that. But Pay, what I wanted to ask, what's in the pipeline for Peter G?
So I'm just basically just more of the same. I've got a speaking gig like next month. So I'm speaking at a fitness conference for one of my friends. He's just put it on, and we met, funnily enough, watching other speakers, and he said, I'm going to do an event like this. Do you fancy having a go?
Motivational,
yeah. And he's like, do you fancy having a go? So I was like, yeah, go on then, I'll do it. So it's just a dream of mine, do you know what I mean? And I was thinking,
listen, you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it too. And like, in order for me to get into these other rooms, what we were just talking about, going into corporate and going into like juveniles maybe or other places like that, it's gonna take, like, you've got to have a CV. You've got to have
It's where it starts.
It's all right watching me ranting on film in my car. But I'm not saying anyone can do that, because everyone's not doing that. But like, standing in front of a room full of people and trying to uplift those people and penetrate their spirits, like that's a whole different ball game. So if I can get a good
CV, you build.
Yeah, like a CV. In the acting thing, they call it your show reel. So you know, if someone goes on your show reel, they can see little things that you've done.
Your credits that you've got.
Yeah. They can see little parts that you played and stuff like that. So that's all basically what I've got to do. I've just got to build up my rapport as a motivational speaker. Then I'm going to be sending out clips and with a little because I sent out a few emails and that and got no response. But it is what it is. Fucking every nose close to it. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Listen, and I think networking's a big thing. You know, everyone's got to start somewhere, and I think with what, you know, your motivational stuff, it's very inspirational to, you know, the lived life, like I've said it and mentioned it a couple of times. But listen, you got to start somewhere, and it's great that, you know, you've got to start to do that. But also there's other things that you offer as well. You know, people who are out there, you know, people who are struggling, you know, relationships and stuff like that, and all of the bits and bobs that you do. So
yeah, so I've got like So I've got courses and stuff. I sell courses, very low ticket, very cheap, so anybody can afford them. Because I always get a lot of people in my DMs saying about people who've abused them in relationships and people who are struggling through breakups and stuff like that. So if Instagram let me send it for free, I'd send it you for free. Do you know what I mean? But like, it's just like me speaking about certain topics and giving my own life experience, but like in depth for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Just, and I've done one about helping people speaking on camera because I want more people to do the same thing. People always message, I wish I could do what you can do. Well,
It's hard.
So I'm thinking, right, all right, well, I'll show you how. I'll show you how. You have to pay what, like $19.99 for it. It's pennies. It's less than Netflix, and you can actually create something yourself to make a.
If you want to better yourself, Peter, let's be honest. You know, by people saying offering a service, people are banging parties, spending 50 knickers and 100 knickers, mate, on whatever, and plus more.
It's priorities, isn't it?
It's how you want, it's where you want to go with your life. If you want to better yourself, you still knock about with people and you sit in them parties doing whatever you want to do. You know, listen, I'm not saying if people want to do that, that's entirely up to them. I'm not saying, but if you want to better yourself, there's there's options out there where by listening and paying 20 quid or 30 quid or whatever it is, it can change your life.
I genuinely believe, mate, yeah. So I created a community, right, and it's like a subscription-based model. It's a monthly thing. It's $29.99. I would challenge anybody out there to go out and try and find something for even half the value what you'll get in the community for even around the money. You won't. It's less than your weekly fucking takeaway, and you get to be surrounded by a group of people who have all come from fucking traumatic backgrounds, who are all reuniting every single day in a group chat to support each other, to offer different advice. There's people in mother and baby units. There's fucking people who have gone off the rails on drugs and that, who have had to move to Scotland through other things. Like there's the people inside the community are so genuine. It's almost like a family. And everyone always complains in my DMs or complains online about there's no good people out there. Well, I've got you access 24/7. You get my phone number, you get everybody else's number in there. You've been part of a WhatsApp group. Then every week we jump on and have a chat like this, but it's just via Zoom. But I said it was going to be an hour, mate. Some of them, they go on 2.5 hours. Sometimes I leave them in there. I'm like, I need to go to bed, man. You crack on, you know. It's just like, because you were just all talking, and don't get me wrong, in there, I do give.
But people need that though. Some people.
But you can give them that though. You can put it on a plate, give it them as cheap as chips, and they'll still say, "I'll have to see when I get paid." And then you wonder why you're sad, because you're not willing to spend less than your normal takeaway budget on something that is actually going to change your life and be surrounded by people. It's what
you wanting to change your life, isn't it?
Exactly, man.
Exactly. Listen, Peter, that's been a fantastic episode. Really deep, but really interesting. And you know, we found out who Peter G is, and I just want to say thank you so much for sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Come on, man.
Thanks very much. It's like that.